It is no secret to anyone who follows football in the EFL that many clubs have been subject to awful mismanagement and ownership problems, especially in the last 20 years or so. We have seen just how important it is nowadays to have an engaged owner with deep pockets to fund a modern-day football club. So today I am going to count down the top 5 worst owners in the English Football League over the last 25 years. And this is by no means an easy task since there is so many bad ones these days. Welcome to the Blue Dragon YouTube channel where we discuss all things Premier League and Championship football, and today I will be taking a look at some of the worst owners in the EFL. If you do end up enjoying, then please like and subscribe to enjoy more content similar to this. 5. Douglas Craig, York City. Douglas Craig is in at 5 on this list. I am sure many of you would not know of this man, and this is probably for the best. Craig was the only one of the 92 English football owners not to sign up to "Let's kick racism out of football." This rightly raised many eyebrows and concerns surrounding the club. Of course, before all of this, York City were a success story, with the club climbing to the 3rd division of English football. Also, York defeated many higher league opponents, as they defeated Alex Ferguson's Manchester United side over toe legs in the League Cup, and things were looking up for York City. After Craig completely refused to take part in the anti-racism campaign, he announced his ludicrous plans to sell the club and its home stadium Bootham Crescent. He then continued to blindside the majority of York City shareholders, including many fans and people who cared about the club in the local area. All of this ended awfully for York, as the club and all of its assets ended up being sold for £50 by racing driver John Batchelor. Since then, the club have been rescued by the fans and the local community, but have never reached the heights of the 3rd tier. Meanwhile, Craig will go down as one of the worst owners in English football history. 4. Tom Hicks and George Gillet. On the 6th of February 2007, Tom Hicks and George Gillet bought Liverpool Football Club from David Moores. The club initially invested in the squad through the transfer market, signing players like fan favourite Fernando Torres, and fans were optimistic about the future. However, under the ownership of Gillet and Hicks, Liverpool had built up a significant amount of debt to buy the club in the first place, which over the course of a couple of years came back to bite the duo, as Liverpool's finances quickly deteriorated and Liverpool were quickly unable to compete in the transfer market. Quickly, everything at the club began to go downhill as Gillet and Hicks fell out with each other and Liverpool began plummeting down the Premier League table. Quickly, Liverpool fans, just like York fans, began protesting against the ownership, and we saw mass protests inside and outside of Anfield. So in the space of 3 or 4 years, the ownership duo had taken a Champions League winners and one of the biggest clubs in the world to a mid-table Premier League team, before selling to Liverpool current owner John Henry. And Liverpool fans will never forget about the horrible Hicks and Gillet regime which led the football club off a cliff. Peter Ridsdale, Leeds United. Could you imagine taking a Champions League to League One in only 6 seasons? Well, meet Peter Ridsdale, who took over his hometown club Leeds United in 1997. And for the first couple of years of Ridsdale's takeover success, was prominent for Leeds United reaching the semi-finals of the 2006 Champions League. And unfortunately for Leeds United fans, Peter decided to gamble on Leeds continuing to qualify for the Champions League. The club borrowed £60 million, which ultimately led the club into debt, and ultimately Leeds were not able to compete in the AFL. Although Ridsdale was not chairman of the club after Leeds' relegation to League One, this was a direct consequence of him gambling on the club's finances. And when Peter left, the club were over £100 million in debt. Ultimately, Ridsdale was largely responsible in the downfall of Leeds United, who are one of the biggest clubs in Great Britain, to the 3rd division, which he still denies. So I think Ridsdale more than deserves a spot on this list, as Leeds United were out of the top division for 16 years. 2. The Venky family, Blackburn Rovers. In November 2010, the Venky family bought a 99.9% stake of Blackburn Rovers, taking over from Sam Walker, who brought a Premier League trophy to Blackburn. The family then made several poor decisions, such as the cessing of Sam Allardyce to appoint Steve Keane, whose agent allegedly advised the family on buying the club in the first place. These several poor decisions led to relegation in the 11/12 season, ending the club's 11-year run in the top division. And after 5 years in the second division, they were then relegated to the third tier of English football. So in the space of 7 seasons, the Venky family had led Blackburn Rovers from a mid-table Premier League team to one that regularly play in the third division. In my opinion, the Venky family are the biggest reason of Blackburn Rovers' downfall over the last 10 seasons. And if Blackburn had better owners, they could still be going strong in the Premier League instead of nowadays a championship club, all down to poor managerial decisions at the start of their tenure. So they more than deserve their spot on this list for the downfall of Blackburn Rovers, who only 15 years ago had won the Premier League. Ken Richardson, Doncaster Rovers. If you mention the name Ken Richardson to Doncaster Rovers fans, they are sure to immediately drop into a heart attack just by mentioning his name. In fact, even when their former owner died, there were celebrations from Doncaster Rovers fans, which I think show just how bad Mr. Richardson screwed over the entire Doncaster community, and not just the football club. Detectives described Richardson as the type that would trample a toddler for a couple of quid. When Richardson took over of Rovers in the early 90s, he poured a lot of money into Doncaster Rovers with one plan on his mind, which was a new stadium. After the local council rejected his bid to build a new stadium, Richardson soon lost interest in the club and plotted to burn Doncaster's Stadium Bellevue and planned to sell the land for a profit. Luckily, these plans did not materialize for Richardson, but a series of poor ownership decisions was enough to relegate Doncaster completely from the EFL. So in my opinion, Ken Richardson will forever go down as the worst owner that has ever graced English football. Please put down in the comments below who you think the 5 worst owners in England are, or where. I appreciate that I may have missed out several owners on this list, such as the Oysters at Blackpool and the owners at Leyton Orient, but overall, I thought these were the worst in my opinion. If you did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing and liking the video so I can get it out to more people, and check out some more videos on the channel which should be on screen about now. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.